Thank you, Vivek. Before I introduce our last reader, I kind of want to provide a little bit of backstory. So I met Charlotte several years ago taking a playwriting class at ACC. And it wound up being a really life-changing class for me. Charlotte was not, she's the chair of the department, but she was not teaching the class, she was taking it as a student with me, which was really lucky for me because meeting her that way, she opened a lot of doors for me, including the door to Malvern, where I worked for 4.5 years. And I no longer work here as I'm pursuing a second undergrad. I'm a full-time student and working at UT. But that being said, I just feel it feels like full closure, like full circle and closure to be introducing Charlotte now to this reading series. Not to alarm anybody, ice cream will go on. I'll still be here. But I'm not working here anymore, so try not to cry. Long story short, I'm super excited to introduce Charlotte. Charlotte Gullick is a novelist, essayist, editor, educator, and chair of the creative writing department at Austin Community College. She holds an MA in English creative writing from the University of California, Davis, and an MFA in creative nonfiction from the Institute of American Indian Arts. Her most recent work has appeared in Brevity and The Rumpus. Her current favorite ice cream is chocolate truffle, and we have many copies of her novel on the Ice Cream Social Coldtext table as well. Charlotte.
So Chandra said that I was a student in the class. What she didn't say is that she was the best writer in the class. She's an amazing writer. So thank you all for being here. Thank you to the earlier people who read at the open mic. I was thinking about this. Writers need to spend so much time by themselves, and it's pretty rare for us to get audience or get community. So when we share our work, that's a gift. So thank you for those gifts. Thank you, organizers, for inviting me, and thank you to Vivek and Amy. Also, Prudence, is your book up here?
I think Mike has the last copy of it.
Oh, okay. Okay. So this is another creative writing teacher at ACC, and this is her book, Dirt. That's awesome. Dirt. So you should go get dirty. No, I don't know what I'm saying. So I'm going to read this piece called Tight Ass, and I debated whether to read it or not. It's a very vulnerable piece, and you'll see why. I created some mystery in my classes, and I'm like, I might read this piece, it's risky, and I don't know. I have a fair number of students in here. You're going to learn a lot about my vagina, just so you know that, and a little bit about my ass. Sorry, hope you can come to class on Monday. There are a couple of section breaks in here, and so I'll just take a pause so you know what's happening then with those. Okay. Tight ass. Oh, I want to say, this is like, if you're doing a reading, my new printer automatically double sides, which is really annoying when you're giving a reading. Right? You want to be smooth. You have to turn the page, so sorry about that. Okay, tight ass. Lying on your side on the table, the gown covering most of your body, you stare at the picture on the wall, placed precisely there to catch the gaze, to offer something while the unpleasantness of the female body is dealt with. The physical therapist, Crystal, slides on plastic gloves, sits on the wheeled examination chair, and scoots herself to your backside. First, she places a hand on your hip. Then she takes what must be her index finger to your backside. Oh, wait. Oh, sorry. First, she places a hand. I'm nervous about talking about my ass. Okay, sorry. First, she places a hand on your hip. Then she takes what must be her index finger and starts at the top of your ass crack, pressing firmly into the muscles there. You'd think you'd be nervous, more ill at ease about someone you just met touching your naked bum. But the pain has held your ass, your urinary tract, your everything down there in some kind of hostage situation, and you are more than willing to pay this ransom. Still, it's awkward. So you say, did you want to grow up and push on people's ass cracks? She laughs. I had a patient who broke his coccyx and he was in so much pain, so I just decided to learn this technique. Her gloved finger presses high on your mid-cheek terminus, and a wave of relief sweeps across the planes of your ass, your lower back, even your chest. You're lucky. For him, I had to do internal rectal work. Your muscles tighten up again. She works her way lower, pushing on each set of muscles that form the pelvic girdle, the interlocking net you didn't know you had until they all began to riot. You try not to weep at the initial cramp, then at the relief. While she works, you sometimes close your eyes, but the inner landscape is still too fraught. Inside, you're still tiny, a child, the one pressed into the corner when dad hits mom, the one clenching so much in fear. I've got to go lower now. And there's no way to explain both the shame and the comfort of having someone else push on your ass, right there, exactly on the anal edge. The ache so deep, so complete, your shoulders hunch even on the table. Ass crack therapy, this is your life. The pain started after peeing, making you want to creep on hands and knees. The stabbing crawled up the urethra and into your lower back, 1,000 razor blades rotating. Between classes at the college, you sat on the bathroom floor, willing the pain away. But it didn't leave. It grew in intensity, and you finally sought medical help. After 2 visits to the doctor, you have no answers, and so scenarios started to bloom. Options presented themselves in the imagination. 1, bladder infection. Could be a sign of diabetes. 2, kidney stones. Moms had so many. 3, colon cancer. What finally took Dad down. 4, consumption. You really don't think this is it, but it does flit across the mental screen. You believe that so many women died of consumption because of corsets, strung so tightly their organs compressed and withered. Finally, after 3 months of body-torquing torment, you were referred to a urologist. She decided you probably have interstitial cystitis, basically the irritable bowel syndrome for the urinary tract. There's no conclusive way to diagnose this except to put a patient out and distend the bladder with water. Extremely painful, therefore the anesthesia. Once inside, the doc takes pictures to confirm whether a patient has hundreds of tiny tears in the bladder lining. You didn't want to be knocked out, nor did you want this thing she says is a strong possibility, but your sister's MS continued to erode her life, and no one could tell you whether or not there's a connection between IC and MS. You are told to avoid caffeine, chocolate, tomato sauce, alcohol, citrus. Online reading revealed the incidence of suicide is very high with folks, particularly women who have IC. This wasn't helpful. The procedure itself brings symptom relief to 1/3 of the women. The other 60% have no response. Less than 10 out of 100 women have an adverse reaction. The possibility of relief was quite the carrot. But you'd forgotten that in most cases, you're not in the majority. Like when you found out you have 4 roots in all your teeth. Yet, despite the 4 roots and the high likelihood you wouldn't get relief, you decided to go for it. Your husband Drew ached for you. This was clear. His brow furrowed, his lips tweaked to the side, his hand went to your arm. Despite the warmth he offered, you felt so alone in this whirlpool of agony. After the procedure, in the days, then weeks that followed, your entire pelvic area spasmed, but most especially the ass. Certain moments when the pain overwhelmed made you remember that suicide was one form of relief. You couldn't have a regular bowel movement. You didn't go for days, and then an urgency radiated from the bum outward. It was possible it registered on the Richter scale, the scope so grand. Afterwards, sorrow pulsed in all the muscles in your backside. You never knew an ass could be so sad. Finally, you returned to the doctor to let her know the misery of your life, your ass. She prescribed pelvic floor physical therapy. When you climb off this table, step back into your clothes, you curtly thank this woman instead of running into her arms and swallowing her in a hug. Next week, we'll measure your vaginal strength. Great, you say. Out of the office, your hips are freer, your ass calmer. Later, you will learn from Crystal that 50% of women in retirement homes are there because of incontinence. It's all about the core and the strength of the pelvic floor, but your culture doesn't teach this. You remember you on the rag, flung at you when you're 12 by your father, a scorching flame licking through the body, a defining moment. In your small hometown where loggers dominated, unshaved hippie women came to talk to the 8th grade, taking the girls into the library to suggest another perspective on periods. A mother who brought her daughter balloons, had a party, took her to dinner, an expensive amount of fanfare just for a girl's first showing of womanly blood. Now, you remember the shelves of books around the group, how you wanted to choose one and crawl into it rather than listen to these women. Even if what they suggested was appealing, it was so vastly different than your world of skinning deer and branding cattle and gathering firewood and volcanic violence lurking. To know another way at the time only made you feel sad, made you feel the distances within. The more you found out what was possible, the more isolated you became. Later that week, after the first pelvic floor therapy, a colleague stops by your office to talk about an upcoming meeting. Suddenly, the conversation veers into personal health. He's had a bladder infection and missed a few days of work. He's such a together person, funny, brilliant, hip. His tattoos swirl up his left arm in a tough display of boundaries and colors. You say, I've had some health issues as well lately. It's made me realize that I hold my body tightly, especially in the classroom. Like parenting, teaching is such a rich opportunity to fill your inadequacies. You don't say that all the time you've been teaching, you thought you were cool, but no, in fact, you were literally a tight ass. You flounder in your thoughts as the colleague talks. You tune in when he says, so I film myself in the classroom to see how I can improve my teaching. His cheeks are slightly red. You didn't think anything could rattle him. And I was mortified to see that when I got warmed up on my topic, I pinched my nipples. He crosses his arms, brings both index fingers and thumbs upward and illustrates. His hands work in what should be private action. All you can do is laugh. The fact that you need help with your act seems a little less pathetic, less hopelessly fucked up, more human. The next week, Crystal rolls in a contraption on a cart after you've stripped and are sitting on the table in the glamorous medical gown. She has you lie down and then begins to hook up nodes to your ass and inner thighs. You have to expect leeches or bleeding to be involved. It's going to hurt when she removes those nodes. While you try to relax, she chatters about her upcoming evening. It's going to be the 21st time I see Jimmy Buffett tonight. I just love him. She's got all these wires hooked up, and she clicks on the machine saying, you'll feel a little surge. You think about your sister Jerry and the muscle test she had part of the MS diagnosis. It's not painful, but the anticipation of the surges wore her down. It felt like a form of torture, she said. No matter what, she'd never do it again. Crystal now inserts her finger, then her hand into your vagina and isolates muscles within the layer there. You think of the times you have visited your sister and been stuck in the back of her tiny car in the Lincoln Tunnel. In traffic, how the air grew thinner, the car smaller. Crystal's asking you to push her hand away, and it's as if your most private of places is made solely of runny mashed potatoes. Jimmy Buffett is such a great performer. Push harder here. You've got nothing to give her, a woeful failure. Drew hates Jimmy Buffett. All that fake tropical island stuff, the songs about drinking, all those Hawaiian shirted arms raised in alcoholic resonance. Crystal digs deeper into the muscles. The pangs shoot outward. A brilliant, precise needle spin through the pelvic region. I remember when my husband and I saw him in Florida, it was a perfect setting. Try to push now. You try, Sure, the little readout the readout that the nodes deliver will be a flat line of atrophied glory. It hurts to push, to try and isolate where those muscles even are. Finally, Crystal removes her hand and looks at the results. You have a lot of work to do. She orders a regimen of Kegels, of stretches to open up your hip flexors. She advises you to be very careful not to tighten the ass when doing both of these. Lying there in all your weak vaginal indignity, you wonder why she is suggesting the impossible. Back in the car, Drew says, "How did it go?" You don't know where to begin, how to explain how bizarre and defeated you feel. A report you don't get to see reveals sad information about your nether regions, and you have no language for this or the ways you're coming to understand how this mortal coil carries the stories of your childhood, how you still are reacting to a night that happened more than 30 years earlier when your father beat up your mother. The humiliations and lessons of the body hum in your cells, in your very female form. There's a loneliness and there's a realization that you can feel from the top of your head to the bottom of your underperforming vagina. To the little girl you were, to the woman you are, you send soothing serenity. All you say is, Crystal has seen Jimmy Buffett 21 times and she's going again tonight. Drew says she can never put her hand in your vagina again. Then he says, no, I'm sorry, it's yours. You get to decide who gets in there. You say, certainly not Jimmy Buffett. The laughter you share rolls through your body, through your chest, down to your ass. For now, this is enough.